Hello everyone, welcome to Res Snapper and another Snap or Pass video. My name is MJ and today we're looking at Terrax The Tamer. He's a 3/3 on reveal. For each location, shuffle a rock into the losing player's deck. In this video, we're going to be looking in the Marvel Encyclopedia to discuss who this character is. We'll look at some deck ideas, I'll tell you what my star ratings are, and we're going to have a fun time. You can actually use the chapters below to skip to the section that you want to if you don't want to watch everything, but True Legends, stay until the end. We're going to have a nice time. So Terrax the Tamer, he's coming to Seasonal Series 4 Snap Packs. Alongside Terrax, you'll also be able to open in those packs any of these cards that you don't already have. That includes Redshift from this season, Fantastic Car from last season, and then from a few seasons ago, Nicholas Scratch, Jennifer Kale, Mercury and Hellion. Just a reminder that Seasonal Series 4 packs, they cover the last 3 months, including the season that you're in, and Seasonal 5 Snap Packs cover the last 2 months, including the season that you're in. So, Terrax the Tamer, he's an incredibly cool character. In fact, a little story time here. I used to play a game called HeroClix, which was like a tabletop superhero battling game. A bit like any tabletop miniature. I was going to give an example, but like a bit like any tabletop miniatures game, okay? But the stats were in their dial, which is why it was called HeroClix, because you'd click down as they get either damaged or healed. And their stats and abilities would change. And they did a summer event, which was basically Heralds of Galactus. So the grand prize at the end of it was a massive Galactus figure. But each week leading up to it, there was a participation prize, which was a Herald of Galactus. One of them was Stardust, which we spoke about a few days ago. And one of them was Terrax. And then there was also like, was there a Nova? There was a Nova, I think. And then there was a new Silver Surfer in the game as well. So yeah, fun story time. So, I'm saying all of that, I'm mentioning it, because because Terrax is a freaking cool character, man. In HeroClix, he rode a rock and held his spear fucking axe thing in the air, much like this. So, right, Terrax, here he is, man like Terrax. I think this base artwork is sick, by the way. I think it's really cool. He looks very imposing. But there is Terrax in the encyclopedia. So let's give it a read. Galactus was looking for a new herald and chose Tyros, a despot from the planet Burge. Tyros, rechristened Terrax, remained a restless, rebellious soul, and before long he betrayed his overbearing master. Terrax travelled to Earth and battled the Fantastic Four, who handed him over to Galactus. After being killed and reborn a number of times, he returned to space. He was swept up in the Annihilation, but survived. He returned to conquer Burge and died defending it against the Phoenix Force. The Illuminati later captured a version of Terrax from another universe, its only survivor. Guys, if he can survive another universe, he's a mad lad, you know. So, yeah, Terrax is a cool guy, and yeah, love his gold axe. He is cool. You can get this, eventually this, I think they call them Spotlight variants still. Don't know if they're ever going to change that name, but there's a Pandart Studio variant coming at some point. Right, before we talk about the mechanics of Terrax, I would like to do another giveaway, guys. This is a Pax Bundle giveaway. You do need to subscribe to the channel. You need to have liked this video, and I would like you to leave a comment designing a character who works with cards with weapons and artifacts. For example, those existing cards that we've got in the game, like Ducken and Four. I would like to see your take on who could be another weapon master, like somewhat similar to King Eitri. Think along those kinds of lines. Okay, everyone, let's enter this section. I think the archetypes that Terrax is going to fit into, they probably seem quite obvious, but I think tempo decks are going to like him just as a potential disruption piece. You don't have to play this guy alongside Darkhawk. You don't. You probably should, but you don't have to. If you've got a tempo deck, I think Terrax could be a similarly strong piece in those types of decks to the likes of Negasonic. It's a different kind of advantage that you're gaining, but just bear it in mind. Obviously, he is first and foremost a deck disruption style card. I don't really know what else to call this archetype other than really, because it is just called Darkhawk, really. That is what the archetype is called. But that, I think, does a disservice to That, I think, does a disservice to the likes of Korg and Rockslide. So, and I think it'll also fit in Surfer decks. Surfer decks often have tempo, they have priority, and Terrax is a 3-cost card. So, he can backfire if you don't have priority, and you might shuffle rocks in your deck. I mean, that is absolutely going to happen. Like, you can't guarantee that you're going to have all turns winning. Let's try that again. Have another go. You can't guarantee that you're going to be winning all the locations by turn 3 if you're playing him on curve. And yeah, so you might be shuffling a rock into your deck, basically. His ability relies on you having winning locations and gets stronger as you win more. So, of course, if you're winning all 3, that's the optimum time to play Terrax. Although, turn 3 is also the optimum time to play Terrax because there's more chance that your opponent will draw into their rocks, which is essentially denying them a draw that turn. And he can shuffle up to 3 rocks into your opponent's deck, and then the sky is the limit if you're able to re-trigger Terrax. I mean, imagine doing a Silver Surfer First Steps or a Absorbing Man. This can get crazy, and you can just kill your opponent's draw, which is going to be really annoying to play against. Pros: if you are able to... Let me try that again with the right emphasis. I wrote a word in capital letters for a reason. If you are able to shuffle those 3 rocks into your opponent's deck, it is so disruptive. What an annoying man this one is. This one here. Yeah, it's so disruptive. Can you imagine, right? Turn 3, so how many cards are we drawn on turn 3? Turn 2, turn 3. Your opponent has drawn half of their deck, right? So they've got 6 left. If you're shuffling 3 in, they could easily... They'll almost certainly draw 1, right? Odds of probability. Probably they'll almost certainly draw 1, which is denying 1 draw at least, right? It's you know, it's bloody possible / likely that they'll draw 2. And hey, they could draw 3. Imagine killing their draws for the rest of the game. Absolutely gross, because of course there are other cards that put rocks into your opponent's deck, and you bloody well might be playing them. You probably are. So yeah, just the irritation and the lack of consistency that this card is gonna target your opponent with is pretty crazy. And it can of course be meaningfully powerful with cards like Darkhawk and Cassandra. Crazy powerful, and re-triggering may also be powerful. Cons: backfiring and putting rocks in your own deck will suck. Next thing, is the ability powerful enough considering the really big downside? Like, you need to be winning locations. That's not necessarily an easy thing to do. Is this ability strong enough to, when considering not only the fact that you need to be winning locations, but also that it is a low tempo card, which brings me on to the final point. He is low tempo, so it may feel especially bad if you do shuffle rocks in your own deck. You're playing a low tempo card, you're shuffling probably a rock into your deck. If there's any situation where you don't have priority and there's like locations being contended, I'm not sure you should even play Terrax The Tamer, right? So I guess that's kind of a con as well, is that you might not always want to play him. Counters for this card in the game include Squirrel Girl, who on turn 1 can basically win all the locations. Martyr, who can single-handedly... She's a lot of power. And on that note, I guess we also need to talk about Black Cat as well now. Black Cat... I guess, well, Black Cat is probably a better card than Martyr, isn't she, really? Martyr has the flexibility of you can play her anytime, whereas Black Cat sort of has to be played on the turn that you draw her. And Blob, if you're playing if you're playing Terrax in a deck which is also a Rock or Darkhawk based deck, and you're putting more rocks into your opponent's deck with like Korg and Rockslide, and you're relying on that Darkhawk to win you the game, maybe it's a Darkhawk Mystique, Blob is going to suck those rocks out, or it might avoid the rocks, but certainly suck cards out of the deck, and he's going to tank your Darkhawk and Mystique's power. Here's my impression of a marionette. Synergies include Korg, of course, a 1-cost card that is shuffling cards into the deck. This actually was also emblematic of the cards that will synergize with the rock side of it, which you could do with Terrax, right? But the interesting deck building considerations that you need to consider with Terrax is actually you might not always be able to afford to play Korg in your deck. You might need to focus more on tempo cards and cards that win the locations, right? So that might be Martyr, I mean it might be Black Cat. So I think you do need to include some of that. It actually includes Squirrel Girl as well. Squirrel Girl is a fantastic synergy, and really I should have put her on this list alongside Martyr at the very least, right? Then I do like Grandmaster. Grandmaster being able to re-trigger Terrax I think is going to be really good. Also, especially if you are winning other locations with a lot of power and you still have priority after playing Terrax, definitely play Grandmaster. That's sick. Cassandra Nova, obviously absolutely huge stonks. If you manage to shuffle in 3 rocks into their deck, really good. And obviously Darkhawk. So let's have a look at some deck ideas that I've brewed up for you. I have actually got 3 different deck ideas for Terrax because I think it's a cool card. So this first one is a budget deck. So because it's a budget deck, I've called it Rock Out with Your Stocks Down, because there is like a famous phrase which is rock out with your cock out. But I've just twisted that and put stocks down because this is a budget deck. You got no stocks, bro. So it has got the tempo cards that we like to see, like Squirrel Girl that we talked about a second ago, Black Cat and Martyr. You got all of them. The reason that we've got all of them, and actually we've got Agony here as well, who is also kind of a pretty high tempo card, is because on turn 2 we really want to play the crucial Iron Patriot. It's a really cool synergy, and in fact Iron Patriot on top of a Martyr or a Black Cat is a combination that I really like. The slight downside in this deck is that if you do that, you're then less likely to be winning multiple locations for Terrax, but hopefully you've got either Terrax or Iron Patriot in your hand and you just play whichever cards before them you think are most beneficial for the line that you're taking, right? You also have Lizard for the nice tempo here, because whilst yes obviously you're going to lose power if they fill the location, you don't really mind because you only want the early game tempo for Terrax and or Iron Patriot. The rest of this deck is an interesting one. We've got some shield cards for some unpredictability. We've got Captain Marvel, who's going to help you to, obviously in the early game, with targeting either all locations or specific ones. Captain Marvel is going to be able to counteract anything. Also, if you play Captain Marvel after Martyr, Martyr will move to try and lose you the game. Captain Marvel will usually, in that situation where let me explain. In the situation where Martyr is able to move so that you would lose the game, in those situations, usually Captain Marvel can move to the location that Martyr was at and you'll win the game. That's usually what happens with that. You've got Blue Marvel because you might actually have a lot of cards out, either from Squirrel Girl or just the fact that we got a low curve or Doom. Darkhawk and Doom finishes. Yeah, this could honestly just straight up be a pretty good deck. The next one, however, leans into the rocks completely. Okay, we've got Korg, we've got Terrax, we've got Rock Slide. I thought for the tempo side of it, in this deck, we'll go with Martyr and Hydra Bob. We don't want to be discarding Black Cat in this deck if she comes up later on, because as you'll see, homie just don't play that, okay? We've got Squirrel Girl. We have got Iron Patriot in here again. I think Iron Patriot and Terrax are going to go nicely together because they're similar fulfillments, aren't they? We have got Rhino here instead of Lizard. The reason that we've got Rhino is because we've also got Merlin, and Merlin works well with both Rhino and Squirrel Girl, and also probably Korg as well. You can get rid of Korg later on, either by shuffling him into your deck or polymorphing him. Cassandra Nova again, and then we are just leaning fully into the Darkhawk side of things with this deck. So you've got Darkhawk and Mystique. You literally have no other ongoing cards to copy with Mystique. So yeah, you are leaning heavily into Darkhawk. That's why that's another reason why I've included both Iron Patriot and Merlin in this deck, to give you something else to do. Yeah, Rock Slide himself is a great polymorph for polymorph target actually. So yes, those are the things I'm saying with that. Our final deck is I don't know, guys. Sorry, don't know if you heard that. My ice just left, sort of making unbelievable volumes of noise by closing the door and still locking it. I've never actually heard a human being take longer to close a door. Very interesting. My wife and I do have a healthy relationship. I will in fact play this. In fact, when I watch this video back, I will maybe even film my wife's reaction, and maybe I'll put that in a future video. That might be a fun thing to do. So, the final deck is called Weird Discard Thing. The reason that I thought about this, right, is because first of all, I was starting off with the tempo stuff. So, like Squirrel Girl, I was like, yeah, let's put Black Cat in this one. I was like, oh, Blade is actually kind of high tempo as well, as is Colleen Wing. The cheap discarders are high tempo, so I was like, okay, is there anything we can do about leaning into the discard side of things here? So I was like, okay, let's also stick in Redshift. He's the other new card, right? And then we're potentially discarding a lot of stuff. So how on earth are we going to benefit from that, though? How do we benefit from that if we're doing Terrax stuff? If you're playing Terrax on turn 3, for example, because you have got tempo from having played all your discard stuff. Okay, well, maybe you play Morgan Le Fay to get the cards back. Or maybe you play Hela. And then, because we are shuffling rocks into our opponent's deck, I've also got Darkhawk as a potential other win condition. And also, just if you discard Darkhawk, you're more than happy to get it back, either via Morgan Le Fay, which really juices him up, or Ghost Rider. And then we've also got Cassandra Nova to benefit from the Terrax stuff. But even if you don't draw Terrax, like, Cassandra's still fine. Like, it's still a fine card. You're doing at least, what, 3, 4 or 5 on the turn you play her. And then any cards that they play out, you're still getting the benefit. So she's like equivalent value of 3/6, 3/7. So she's still a good card in isolation. So yeah, this could just be interesting. And also remember, cards like Redshift is adding a resource to your hand. Iron Patriot is also adding a resource to your hand. So whilst you're discarding a lot of stuff, you also have the potential to generate extra value as well. And then Morgan Le Fay can bring them back. Yada, yada, yada. This honestly could just be an interesting deck. Who knows? Just a reminder, guys, that these things really help my channel. So please like the video. Please do subscribe. And yeah, turn on notifications if you want to. I mean, notifications is a weird one. Only do if you want. I don't really have many notifications on channels because... Actually, yeah, just real talk here, right? Let's frame break this out, right? Just chatting real for a second, guys. This is how I interact with YouTube, okay? At the end of the day, at the end of either my working day or my, my weekend days when I've chilled. Actually, I'm saying that this is a weekend. This is a Saturday morning as I'm filming this because I have got family commitments tomorrow. So, yeah, needing to burn the candle at both. Although, even if I didn't have family commitments tomorrow, I still need to do it this weekend. So, yeah, don't know why I'm saying that. Anyway, my habits with YouTube is, end of the day, I'll turn on the TV and I'll watch YouTube on my TV and I'll go through all my subscriptions and I'll watch basically all my favourite channels or any videos that spark my interest. That is how I consume YouTube. So, I've now forgotten why I even said that. So my star ratings for Terrax. Overall, I actually think he's a decent card. I've given him 3.5 stars. I think he's really cool. I like the design. You have to win locations in order to get his really powerful ability. I think that's cool. A cool design. From a fun perspective, I give him 3.5 because it's going to be so unfun to play against. Having rocks shuffled in your deck. That's like kind of one of the worst, most annoying abilities in the game. So inflicting that on someone is kind of fun, like Schadenfreude. Oh god, what's the German? I've just butchered that. That German word for taking pleasure in other people's pain, right? Schadenfreude. Fraudenfreude. I don't know. I don't care. Don't even tell me. I'd rather get it wrong. No, do tell me, please. Thank you. I appreciate that. For the archetype, 4.5 stars. God, at least for Darkhawk. Darkhawk has... look, listen, Darkhawk doesn't have many tools, right? Korg, Rock Slide, Cassandra Nova, and Darkhawk. Those are basically the tools for Darkhawk. So he doesn't get many toys to play with, so it's great to get a toy like this. And then from a competitive standpoint, I do think this guy will see play, so I've given him 4 stars. And so ultimately, he actually is the first card of the season that I've said is actually a snap. I do actually think this card is worth going after. It is solid. It is rock solid, if you will. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. We plough through the season. The next video will be Nova Frankie Ray, so stay tuned for that one. See you next time. Cheers.